Arsenal are in desperate need of a number 9. Most people are saying that will lead to them winning the league title. But is Victor Gyökeres the perfect man for Arsenal? Let's start there, Quakes. Because last week, off air, you were having a conversation, and you believe he could be.
Yeah, it could be.
Yeah.
But like, it's a struggle, right, in terms of striker market, and it's football situational. It's becoming more and more situational. So a player that's worked in one system in one country could come to a different country and not work. We saw Darwin Núñez look like an absolute world beater for Benfica in Portugal, and I thought there was no way he could come to Liverpool and it not work. Especially a man like Jurgen Klopp, who I know he's not directly responsible for all the transfers that happened at Liverpool, but he spoke very highly of them. He signed off on a £70 million signing, and it never worked. And so he might score. He might have scored a lot of goals in Portugal. He might have scored a lot of goals in the Champions League. Does that mean that it will translate to Premier League? It remains to be seen. How does Arteta use him? Do Arsenal change their style of play and get more crosses into the box? Obviously, we know they're very good from set pieces, but I don't know if this is a guarantee. I think he's a good player. His stocks, like you mentioned off air, have slightly fallen because he started the season so red hot. But he's a good striker and he can put the ball in the back of the net. It's whether the players around him, if Odegaard can pick up his form again, if they can utilise Saka in a way that works with him, if Kai Havertz is happy to play a supplementary role coming off the bench. There's so much that goes into it. But in terms of a player, isolated in terms of just assessing his skill set, he's a very good player that I think can suit the Premier League.
I think really, apart from Gyökeres, who are you going for? I think it's going to probably be quite difficult to prize Alexander Isak away from Newcastle, especially now they've got Champions League football. He scored 52 goals in 49 matches. He's played in England before in the Championship, which I would say is physically more demanding than the Premier League, particularly in terms of strength. So we know he can do that. And I think when you're buying players from other leagues, you do always have to look at how those players have transformed into the Premier League. I think the Portuguese league has been an unbelievable stepping stone for the Premier League. Darwin Núñez maybe is the only bad example, but all over, you look at Bruno Fernandes, Bernardo Silva, Ruben Diaz, you look at every single player who's come from there. And I think because we don't watch it enough, we probably denigrate it a little bit, but I think it's a testament that a lot of the good players from that league have come over to the Premier League and been even better here and been the best in their position in the world. And I think, as you say, the striker market, there is a little bit of a dearth for it. If you're looking at a man who scored 52 goals in 49 games, who else can you really go for?
I think that's part of the issue that Arsenal will have. We'll come to style in a second because I think that's a really important detail, like both of you just said there. But when you think about strikers and when you think about everyone saying Arsenal need a 9, need a 9, need a 9. So they have to go and get one. And the problem they have is Man City, well, not Man City, sorry, Liverpool are after a 9, Manchester United are after a 9, Chelsea are after a 9. So there's probably only 3 or 4 number 9s to go around, and then you're going to be left with the guys that you maybe don't want. You're going to try and make it work. Arsenal have already had to do that in other positions. So I do worry a little bit about that, but I do think profile-wise, there's my slight issue with this, that he's someone that wants to run the channels. He's a focal point at Sporting. He's the one man. He's the go-to guy. Arsenal kind of utilise Saka. The right side is often overloaded. And I think this is partly why it hasn't worked for Darwin Núñez at Liverpool. He wants to be the 9, as he was at Benfica. He often played with someone. But the ball's going out to Salah, so now you've got to learn to make runs off the main guy. And I think Victor Gyökeres going from the main man in one team, like maybe Haaland was at Dortmund, to coming to Arsenal and trying to be the main man here, but a system that's completely different, worries me slightly.
I think that's the interesting conversation as well, and I think the Haaland reference is a really good one, and I got slated a lot by City fans talking about Erling Haaland at the beginning of the season, saying how it worked wonderfully well at the beginning, but I do feel like City compromised their style probably too much to adjust to him. And I think it's probably a similar situation with Gyökeres here, but what I will say is City had the players to utilise Erling Haaland, and as you mentioned before, if Martin Odegaard can get back on form, if Saka can if Saka can keep fit and continue his form, and they potentially get someone on that left-hand side who's maybe a little bit better than Martinelli in terms of output, I think that they're not that far away from being able to just adjust to a style of play that will suit Gyökeres.
The one thing that Arteta and Arsenal have shown, though, is a reluctance to spend big money on players from abroad. If you look at Arsenal's marquee signings in recent seasons, Declan Rice, Premier League proven. David Raya, Premier League proven. Leandro Trossard, Kai Havertz. Like, the ones that come in and make an impact, Premier League proven. Even Martin Odegaard was a try before you buy. A little loan and then see if it works and then go out and actually spend the money on him. And so I think Arteta is very much of the viewpoint, and I don't disagree with it, especially because this is a risky signing that I want to see if you can cope with the Premier League. I get it, Gyökeres was great at Coventry in the Championship, wasn't so great at Swansea in the Championship. He's gone away to another league and he's coming over, and this is not me saying the Premier League is the best league in the world. It's just different. And so I just understand why there might be some hesitancy from Arteta to go and spend what is relatively big money on a player that we haven't seen in the Premier League yet.
If we think about number nines then on this point, and I agree actually with what you said earlier, that generally speaking, players that come from the Championship to the Premier League who do really well, like they're the outliers in the Championship, come to the Premier League, they tend to do quite well. Liam Delap now going to Chelsea, various other examples, and for whatever reason, Premier League clubs don't shop in the Championship. I don't know why, they love to go abroad. But if you think about number nines that have come to the Premier League over the last however many years, Nicholas Jackson, for example, what do you think they struggle with? In my mind, it's physicality, and also it's the almost like the loneliness that you have to deal with in the Premier League, because you have to deal with two big centre-backs, and you will find that difficult. What do you think Nicholas Jackson struggled with, for example?
I think the issue for number nines is being profligate, right? In terms of wasting chances in front of goal. Because you might do it in another league. And again, I don't want to denigrate any other leagues. I'm sure there's so much attention. And if you miss chances, people are going to be on your back, especially the fans of your own team. If you miss chances in the Premier League and you're costing people fantasy points, you are hearing about it from every corner of the globe, right? If Gyökeres comes into Arsenal and for the first 7 games doesn't score a goal. Remember Rasmus Højlund? Remember that? How long that went on and how much he was being memed? I think that definitely affected his development. Sure. I think in the Premier League, if you're not clinical, you don't finish your chances, you're going to have an issue. The reason why Alexander Isak worked is he might have struggled with the physicality, but we all knew that he could put the ball in the back of the net. That was never the issue. It's about coming up to pace with the physicality. I think if you're not a clinical finisher and you can't put the ball in the back of the net on a regular basis in high leverage moments, you're going to have an issue. I've seen Gyökeres do it at Sporting, at Sporting, but it's a different kind of league in the Premier League, and let's see if he can do it over